What's up, guys? This is Josh from Sellzee. Thanks for tuning in to the Art of Arbitrage YouTube channel. Sellzee is your spirit guide to the world of retail and online arbitrage via Amazon FBA. I know that's quite a mouthful, but if you don't know what that means, it's probably a good sign that this video is not for you. What we're going to do today is talk specifically about alternative sourcing strategies for used book dealers who operate a business on Amazon. Now, if you're a used book dealer and you source your inventory traditionally through physical means, meaning thrift stores, garage sales, estate sales, and most notably book sales, you probably know how hard it is to actually keep up the pace of sourcing books. You know, there's only 8 hours in a day. There's only one of you. There's traffic. You got to drive from one location to the next. So there's actually a theoretical limit that you will hit, or you may have hit already, on how many books you can source in any given day, which is going to then put a limit on your business. So does that mean then that you can't grow your business beyond that limit? No, that's not what that means. Today we're going to show you one of many possible strategies for how to break through that limit. And just so you have some context, for us, that limit was about $10,000 in sales per month, meaning we were only able to grow our business to $10,000 in sales per month from sourcing inventory through physical channels. And then we had to figure out other smarter ways of doing it. And this is just one of the ways. We're going to be sharing with you all the other ways that we do it. This is kind of a testament to figure out a way to work smarter instead of harder, right? So what we're going to talk specifically about today is using Keepa's web app to find used books. This video is for used book dealers, finding used books that you can buy on Amazon and sell back on Amazon for a profit. Now, you may have seen that there are a couple of web apps that are designed, they claim to be designed, and they market themselves specifically for this, for finding books to buy and sell on Amazon. The problem is they're very expensive. They're $80 a month. Both of these tools, the two most popular tools that are marketing towards this use case, are $80 a month minimum just for getting access to the books data that they offer you. But then they also, one of the tools actually has other categories. If you want to go into those other categories, it's actually over $200 a month. Now, the crazy thing is, well, number one, that's really, really expensive, considering the fact that you can do this for free using Keepa's data, which is actually a lot better data. And you're going to see that even if you do pay the $80 a month to use these tools, it's not like you go in there and fill out some filters and then every result you get back is a buy. You still have to do a lot of diligence to qualify the results that you're looking at in order to make sure that it actually is a buy. So it's really actually no different at all than using Keepa's web app. And this is a pretty new thing. Keepa didn't always have, they most recently released a bunch of new data that really makes this even more powerful. So in the past, there was kind of a gap in the market, and this what these two tools really addressed. But now there's really no need for it because you can do all the same stuff for free. Remember, if you use these two tools, and by the way, if you want to know what they are, just drop a comment below and I'll tell you what they are. But I want to kind of keep you disciplined to use the free tools that are out there to get the most mileage out of them. But just keep in mind, even if you pay the $80 per month, you're still going to have to do extra work when you put in when you use the tool to actually qualify the data that you get back and make sure that they actually are opportunities. And you're going to see what I mean by that today when we use Keepa. We got to put some filters in, get some results back, and then we're going to actually do a deeper dive and see if the results that we get are actually real opportunities. That same exact exercise, you have to do it on these other two tools that charge $80 a month. There's no magic bullet. You don't go in there and go, hey, I want to see price spreads, any items that have price spreads where the lowest merchant offer is, $5 or less, and the lowest FBA offer is greater than $15. No, it doesn't do that. It doesn't identify price spreads. All it does is has similar filters to Keepa that identifies items with a higher probability of having a price spread, but you still have to manually identify the price spread yourself. Anyway, I think I've sold you enough on it's worth trying the free tools. This is what we're going to do today. This is kind of an outline of the process that we're going to go over. We're going to set up some Keepa filters. It says keep, but should say Keepa filters. We're going to glance at each result really quickly. Now, I'm going to actually talk you through what's going on in my mind, and you can kind of adjust this because, you know, I might spend 2 minutes explaining a chart to you, but in my, you know, if I do this myself without explaining it, it might happen in a matter of seconds. So you got to keep in mind that this can be done really, really quickly, and I'm walking you through my entire thought process on how I evaluate these items. So step 2, we're going to glance at the results. We're going to look at the charts. And step 3, we're going to open the promising ones, and I'm going to tell you what qualifies as being promising when we go into the detail of actually doing this. We're going to open up the promising ones in separate tabs. We're going to evaluate the lowest merchant fulfilled versus the FBA offer. That's just another way of saying we're going to check and make sure there's a price spread that we can capitalize on. And we're going to purchase the winners. Now, I'm going to go all the way up to the step where we put the items in our cart, but I'm obviously not going to purchase these items. I probably might, though. After I hit the stop button, I might actually go ahead and purchase these items. Or if you're quick enough to get these in time, then they're all yours. All right, let's dive right in. This is what the Keepa web app looks like when you come to the page and you haven't filled out any of the filters yet. So all the filters are blank. I'm walking you through from the very beginning step. Okay, so we're looking for books, right? We're looking for books. We want to pick the books filter here. And what we're doing here is setting up our filters to identify price drops. That's what this whole page does. It's all about identifying price drops. So we're going to set up all these different filters. We pick the category filter. We're looking for used items, so we're going to pick used. Let's put the drop interval on a day. So what that means is the drop that we're identifying occurred within the last 24 hours. Let's put the drop percent on at least 50%. So that means the price cut in half over the course of the last 24 hours. And when we say the price, what we're talking about is the lowest price. All these filters are with respect to the lowest of whatever I filled out. So since I've got used here so far, we're looking at items where the lowest used price dropped at least 50% over the last day. Okay, so that was the percentage drop range. I'm going to leave the dollar drop range on the full range, and I'll show you how you can kind of play with this a little bit later. Now, keep in mind, since the minimum dollar price drop is at $0 and the percentage is at 50, that means that you might get an item that was $1 and is now 50 cents because, you know, 50 cents is half of a dollar, which qualifies for 50%. But obviously that's not something you can work with because it's only worth $1. So later I'm going to show you how to use the sort by filter to filter out that option, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, getting a little excited here, guys. What's the next filter that we're going to fill out? We're going to fill out the price range filter. So the way you want to think about this one is just put in here what you're comfortable paying. So, you know, later when you get more advanced with this, you might be comfortable exploring, you know, buying a book for $50 and selling it for $150. But to start, let's be a little bit more conservative. Doesn't have to be exact, but let's get it around $30. So that means, you know, I'm willing to pay somewhere between $5 and $30. I'd like to actually get this on, move this all the way over. I think I get it on 0 to, looks like it starts at 5. That's okay. If I can get this back. Come on. You can do it. Technical difficulties. There we go. Okay. Let's make this bigger so I can slide the whole thing over. Is it going to let me say it? There you go. 0 to 32. All right, got it. Wow. That was fun, right? Okay, got the price range down. So that means I'm willing to pay up to $32. Now the second to last thing I should say that we're going to fill out, probably the most important thing is a measure of demand, which is sales rank. Okay, I'm going to put 500,000. 1, 2, 3. Now, this really just depends on your risk tolerance. Now, if I was in another setting and I identified a book, like for example, if I was at a thrift store and I found a book that was worth $50, I might go all the way up to a million sales rank for that particular book. But in this particular strategy, you can play with this. I mean, this is really totally up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. I oscillate, sometimes I'll go all the way up to 750,000. Really just depends. It also depends on, your mix of existing inventory, right? Like you really don't want to have a bunch of poor ranking books in your inventory. So we kind of try to stick to 20% or less of our inventory is ranked 750,000 or worse. By the way, if anybody of you out there are like, what the hell is Keepa? Just really quick, I kind of made the assumption that everybody listening to this has some experience with Keepa in some capacity or another. But let me just back up for a second for those who don't know what it is. Keepa is just I shouldn't deminimize it. It's an awesome company, a German company. I love German companies. I don't know why, they just tend to do everything right. But they collect Amazon data and make the data available through various mechanisms. The most popular mechanism that they make their data available is probably their Chrome extension. So if you install their Chrome extension, you can actually see historical Amazon data, all the same data we're looking at right now, on Amazon product pages. So without having to go to Keepa, it's just embedded right into the page. Really cool. But what we're looking at today is the Keepa web app, which most recently they've added a bunch of new data, and it's gotten a lot easier to identify profitable books, even easier than those $80 to $200 a month apps that I talked about earlier. Try it out. I've actually been able to source about 10 times as many books using this free tool than when I tried those $80 a month tools. Okay, getting really excited. So got one more filter left here. I'm gonna put it on price. This is sort by that I'm looking at right now. I'm gonna put sort by price, and I'm gonna go from highest price to lowest price. And by doing that, I've got rid of all that junk that I talked about earlier when I said, oh, if the drop range is $0, but the percentage is 50, then that means it would identify an item that was $1 and drop down to 50 cents. I just put that all the way down in the bottom of the results by sorting by highest price. Okay, so now I got all these filters set up. By the way, if you want to save this, you can come up here and click this little plus button and name your search. I might just call this OA Books 1. Terrible name, but good enough for now. And then you got it saved. And later, after I show you this particular strategy of setting these filters, I'll show you how you can play with all these filters. And there's almost limitless ways that you can set these filters. But today, I'm just going to show you 2 ways that have been really useful for me to set these filters and identify profitable items. Okay, so now what are we looking at? We're looking at the results that match all these filters. So just to review one more time, used items that had a price drop of 50%, any dollar amount, price has got to be the lowest price, used price, got to be between $0 and $32, rank better than 500,000, and we're sorting them from highest price to lowest price. I always like to say better. When I talk about rank, I like to say better or worse or good or bad, because when people say high rank, low rank, I never know if they're talking about a good rank or a bad rank, right? Because a low number is actually a good rank. So I always try to say good rank or bad rank. Okay, we got our results here. Now what we're going to do is a couple things. We're going to look at these books at a high level by clicking on the item and looking at the chart. But before we do that, we're first going to scroll to an area of the page that we're comfortable with. So, just ask yourself how much you're comfortable paying for a book and look at the now price. So I'm comfortable paying I like to stick under $15 per book. So I'm going to start right here. Now there's a few indicators you're looking for, and I'm going to go through them in order. But first, you're looking for a big multiple, as big as possible, between the average and the now price. at least 3 times multiple, right? So 3 times 15 would be 45. So it's right about 45. So that's a good sign. The reason that's a good sign is because the average it's showing you the average, presumably over the time frame that you have set in the chart. I'm not 100% sure. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Let's see if the average changes if I put it to 258. So the average was 44.51. I put it to 258. Average doesn't change, but when I open the chart back up, it goes back to 3 months. So I'm guessing that the average is over 3 months because it keeps resetting the default to 3 months, right? So you're looking for a multiple of at least 3, because what that means is if the average price is 3 times the now price, what it's kind of saying is this item has a history of selling at a significantly higher price than it's currently available for, right? Makes sense? Now, the other thing you're looking for is actually in the charts. So let's click on the chart and clean up. I'm going to set these filters or these buttons the way that I like. I like to have the good rank at the top of the chart. I want to see new, used, and rank. If there was Amazon and other types of offers here, I would turn those off. And what you're going to look at is the spread between, you've already looked at the spread between the average and the now. Now you're going to look at the spread between the new and the used. Now, excuse me. The used drop here, let's put it on a day so we can see the drop. So it was at 57, came down to 21, 1938, and came down to 1552. So not a big, it's a big drop relative to this point in time, but not a big drop most recently from 1958 to 1552. But it qualified for 50% because look, this was all today, right? So earlier today it was at $57 and slowly came down to 1552. So that actually is a pretty big drop. But we're looking for a spread between the blue and the black line as well. We're also looking for at least a 3 times multiple there. Again, 15 times 3 would be 45, but our new line is all the way up at 74. Now, when you're doing this, you're just going to do this really quickly, right? You're not going to talk out loud and say all this stuff I'm saying. I'm just explaining to you my thought process. But the reason you're looking for a spread here between the blue and the black line is because the blue line is like your ceiling price, right? For selling used books. Like, if you think about it, why would you buy a used book for more than... Why would you pay more for a used book than for the new book? Doesn't make any sense, right? Now, some people do this. I've seen it happen on our own Amazon account where I get a sale and I look at it and I'm like, weird, that was sold for more than... They could have bought the new one for cheaper. So it does happen probably for those that are environmentally conscious, but it's not really a strategy to bank on. You don't want to be trying to take this to the bank, you know, so because you're essentially relying on selling a used book for more than a new book. It just doesn't really seem like a viable strategy, right? So you're looking for as big of a spread as possible between the new and the used period, right? So it didn't, like, if I go back 3 months, you can actually see here the used price was higher than the new price. Now, if I saw this for the recent data, that would be a reason to rule it out completely. I would just say, nope, the black line's higher than the blue line, not going to look at it because they could just buy it cheaper new. So why spend money? Why invest money on the used item, no matter how low it is, if the new item, if it's higher than the new price? Okay, so we got a decent spread here most recently, though. If we don't look at the weird part of this chart where the used price was higher than new, we just look at the most recent month, that is not a big spread right there. But most recently, over the last week, this is a pretty big spread, where especially when it dropped down to 1552, that qualifies for a 3 times multiple, right? So what we're going to do is, we call these promising indicators. We're going to open up these items in separate tabs whenever they're promising. Okay, so far we've talked about 2 indicators. We're talking about the now to average price, which we saw on the cover outside of this, on this actual, I'll go back and show you what I mean. This thing right here on the cover, now to average, that's 3 times. So that's good, looks good so far. Then we're looking for the recent data. We want to see a large spread between the new and the used. I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but I want to just make sure it's 100% crystal clear. The new to the used spread is at least 3 times. And then the last thing we're going to look for is that the item actually sells. Now, I kind of took care of this by the fact that I put in the worst rank. In the filter, I put in worst rank of 500,000, which means I'm not going to get any items that are ranked worse than 500,000. But remember, that's the current rank. That's just a snapshot in time. You don't know what that could mean anything about the rank history. So you want to see a rank history, a history of the item actually selling. Now be careful when you interpret the green line. What you can assume is that if the rank spiked and you have good ranks at the top of your chart, that's what I mean by spike. It means the rank got better. The rank can only get better if the item sold, okay? But if the rank didn't get better, if the portion of the chart that you're looking at, the rank was just declining, it doesn't necessarily mean that it didn't sell. It just means that you can't conclude that it sold with the available information. It could be that the item was ranked so well, like if the item's ranked, in the thousands, in the single thousands, it has to keep selling a lot in order to maintain that rank. If it doesn't keep selling as frequently as it did, the rank will fall. Excuse me, I need to take a sip of water here. Getting way too excited. So just be very careful when you interpret this green line. Again, if the rank spikes, meaning it gets better, it had to have sold. That's the only way the rank can spike. But if the rank didn't spike, it doesn't mean that you conclude it didn't sell over that time frame. It still could have sold, but that's where you get into the gray area. You don't really want to play in that area unless you have some other information to know that it was selling, okay? So all of our indicators were met on this item, so we're going to open it up in another tab, and we're going to dive into that separately. I'm doing this in assembly line fashion to save time, okay? So same exercise again. We're opening up this item. I got my good ranks at the top. I got a nice spread between the new and the used. I'm going to look at the drop from 78 to 15. That looks really nice. I'm feeling some juiciness here. And yep, plenty of selling history on this one. Okay, open up that item. Now again, operate in the area that you're comfortable with. Like I'm comfortable paying up to $15, but if you're just doing this to start, lower your risk and start with a lower now price. So that, in other words, that means scroll farther down in the page, or set your price range to have a lower max than I did. I have it at 32 right now. Okay, which is kind of silly that I put it at 32 and then I scrolled down to 15. I probably should have just put it at 15. I don't know why I did that. Okay, this one, we're gonna look at this one. Did I look at this one already? I don't know. Do it again if we did. Okay, got the rank the way I want. Okay, here we go. Used price greater than the new price. Not going to spend time on that. Doesn't make any sense. All right. Okay, see, this one's got Amazon data. This can actually be an indicator. I don't use it as an indicator. We can talk about that in a separate video. I just try to keep it as simple as possible here. Okay, so spreads are kind of all over the place. When I'm talking about spreads, I'm talking about the spread between the blue and the black line. Kind of all over the place. They converge here. Let's look at the dropped. So look, right there, the new and the used were at the exact same price, and now it got a little bit more realistic, $12. There's probably nothing here, but I'm going to open it up just to be sure. I'm guessing that all of the used prices are going to be around $12, but we'll see when we look at it in closer detail. Sometimes I forget to breathe. I get so excited here. Okay, let's look at this one. And let's see. Oh, by the way, just tell me if I should stop if I'm doing too many. Oh, that's right. You can't talk to me. Never mind. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, I got a nice spread here. Is the rank good? Okay, this one's a little tricky. So look at all this time right here from June 8th all the way to August 10th. It didn't sell at all. Actually, sorry, I should be careful. We cannot conclude that it sold. That's the right way to interpret that. You don't want to say it didn't sell, period, full stop. You can only say we cannot conclude it didn't sell, right? Because I see no spikes. It may have sold, but it's very unlikely that it did because of the rank is very bad over that time frame. If it was dropping from like, 1,000 down to 2,000, then maybe it sold, but it's very, very unlikely that this item sold during this time frame. But most recently, over the last month, it sold 1, 2 times. I don't like that. I like looking for items that sell at least 5 times a month. So I'm not going to look at that item. And we're going to do plenty of other videos about like why am I looking for 5 per month. It has to do with a return on your investment, and there's a pretty strong fallacy out there. I call it the ROI fallacy, that people are going off of, oh, well, if I make 50% ROI, it's good, right? Not necessarily. It depends how fast you make your 50% ROI. And we're going to talk about that more in a separate video. But for now, just know that I'm looking for 5 sales a month. Okay. Use price higher than the new. I don't like that. And it's the same as the new here. I don't like that. Okay. College algebra. Textbooks are usually good, right? Everybody's got a love affair with textbooks. A little bit too much, I would say. Let's see. Price drop 31 to 10, and a nice spread between blue and black line, and plenty of green. Plenty of, I call it a pulse. I say look for a pulse in the green line. Like it's a heartbeat. Obviously it doesn't look like a heartbeat, or this person would have some serious heart conditions. But this has got plenty of, quote, life, as I like to say. So over time, and the other thing to look at is like and I haven't talked about this a lot, but you want to kind of also look at this, where the use price was. I call it trading, because it's almost like looking at the stock market. Like, where does that stock trade at? Well, the used item traded historically for around $5. So just because it like dropped 50% doesn't mean it's worth, whatever 1 divided by 50% is. Doesn't mean it's worth whatever it was before it dropped. Right? It doesn't mean it's worth $32. Right? It just means it dropped from $32. So is it worth $32? Well, it's hard to say. I mean, the price, if I go all the way back to March, it was like $4 consistently, and it came up here. It looks kind of anomalous that it would be worth more than, more than $10 or so. But you might be able to sneak in a sale if you get your timing right. You just got to be really careful. I'll tell you what the ideal scenario is here. The ideal scenario would have been if this black line was just straight at 20, all the way across to the end of the chart. Because then I know it has a history of selling at least $20, and then it dropped to whatever it was, 10. And I'd obviously like it even higher than 20. And that's why we want the new line to be as high as possible, because remember, we want a spread between the blue and the black line, but we also want the black line to be high. So that means the blue line has to be even higher. So ideally, you'd like to see this thing like right here, like even at like 30, all the way across, all the way to the end, and then a drop all the way down to as far as possible. So this one's a little risky, like you might be able to sneak in a sale, like I said, but the history is telling me that the used item is really only worth $5-ish, and that should be reflected in the average. Which one was I looking at? College algebra? It should be reflected in the average. It says 31. Seems kind of high, right? Maybe the average is over maybe the average is over a year. Somebody feel free to correct me if I'm wrong about like what the default time frame is for the average. Because if the average is showing 30 and I look over the last 3 months, it can't be 30 because it's like under $5 here. So it must be like over a longer time frame. But nevertheless, we're looking at the truth right here. Unless you're banking on this time frame being indicative of the book's intrinsic value, the used book is probably worth around $5. So I don't even remember if I opened this in a separate tab, but I'm actually going to pass on it now. I've kind of convinced myself to pass on it. So this is all we're doing. It's getting repetitive now on purpose because I want you to see the exact methodology that I'm using. Okay, looking at the spread, 16 to 10. Let's make sure it's got, okay, it's a little bit better history, but the spread is a little tight over time. But most recently, the spread is pretty big. Now, that's actually a good thing if you see, I should have qualified this a little bit better. If you see that the spread is tight, like in the history, like going back many years, and the used line is hugging the new line, that's actually a good thing if it dropped most recently and now there's a big spread between the new and the used line. Because what it's saying is, what the market is saying is, used book, new book, what's the difference, right? And then somebody came in here and lowballed everybody at $10 because they're whatever, they don't know what they're doing, they want to sell this item. No disrespect, but they want to sell this item or whatever, for whatever reason. Who cares, right? We're going to capitalize on it. Okay, this one looks really juicy. We're going to open up that one. All right, let's get some more juicy ones. I'm going to speed up a second here so we can have some more opportunities to qualify. This one's black line greater than the blue line. I don't like that. Actually, no, it dropped down here 923, but it's 12 for new, so I don't like that. Okay, let's get some juiciness in here. Let's go down a little further. Okay, this one looks interesting. And what's the drop on this? 650. That's too close. Blue and the black line too close. This one looks good at first glance. Let's look at the drop. Okay, yeah, used is greater than the new. That doesn't make any sense. Ooh, this one. Oh, a lot of these look like they have potential. Okay. Let's look at the drop. 748 to 50. That's a good spread. Okay, see how this doesn't make any sense back here, right? But who cares about that? Right now, it's 748. So we don't care if it didn't make sense, you know, a few months ago. That's fine. Like, what was I looking at? Right here. Like, right here, that doesn't make any sense. Used price 97, new 17. But what we're looking at here is that there's a spread most recently between the used and the new. And don't forget that the item's actually selling frequently. You know, so I see some pretty good spikes here. You know, the average rank is still probably close to 1 million, but the important thing is that it actually sells. And all that means is that the sales cycle is just relatively long, which is okay. You just don't want an item that's totally dead, right? Did I open this item up? I can't remember. Let's open that one up. Let's check this one out. Okay, what's the drop on this one? Okay, drop on this one went from 38 to 6. That's awesome. This might be the best one we've seen so far. Okay. A rank is not amazing, but again, it's got a pulse. So it will sell eventually. Now, you want it to sell within at least 6 months. You don't want to be charged long-term storage fees. So make sure that the rank cycle, meaning from the trough to the peak, is less than 6 months. Okay. This one, I don't like this one. Black line higher than the blue line. This one looks promising. Okay, the drop was 29 to 5, but the new is all the way down at 12.95. Okay, let's look at this John Wilkes history book. Okay, what's the drop? Drop is 22 to 577, and this new is 24. I'd really like the new to be a lot higher than that, like 2 to 3 times that. It probably means there's a lot of used offers around where the lowest used offer is. Especially, see, look at the history of the used. It's only most recently jumped up to 22. So this is kind of an inflated drop or an anomalous drop. Because if I look at the full chart, look, it never, over the last 4 years, it never exceeded $5 until here, and then it dropped. So it's kind of an inflated drop. But let's open it up just so I can show you that it is indeed an inflated drop, and you'll probably see all the new offers are clustered around that $5 range. Or excuse me, all the used offers are clustered around that $5 range. All right, let's get a few more open here. And after we're done doing this, we're going to actually drill into the offers and verify that there's a significant enough spread between the lowest merchant offer and the lowest FBA offer so that we can actually capitalize on buying and selling it back. So again, same issue here. Look, that's an inflated drop. I'm looking at the black line. It pretty much never exceeded $5 except for right there, and then it spiked all the way up, and now it dropped a lot. So book doesn't really have a lot of intrinsic value on a used basis. Okay, let's see if we can... Okay, this one looks interesting right here. So you can play with these filters a lot. Remember, I sorted by price high to low, but you could have sorted by percentage drop high to low if you wanted to. This one right here. So I'm seeing, that's why I keep scrolling, because I know there's going to be large percentage drops even further down the page. This is just totally up to you how you want to put these filters. I'm just showing you this is one way to do it, and I'm going to show you right towards the end of this video another possible way for setting the filters, but there's really an infinite number of combinations. Okay. Yeah. The new price just really isn't that high in this one. Okay, let's see. Find a few more here. This one looks promising. Okay, look at the drop. 22 to $2, and the new is $48. That looks good. Doesn't sell that often. Looks like it only sold once in the last month. Now this would I'd normally rule this out because I like to do 5 sales a month. But if the price was good enough, I would probably roll the dice. So I'm going to open it up just to see what the spread actually is between the lowest merchant fulfilled and the lowest FBA fulfilled. This one, the used price is higher than the new. Rule that out. Now again, if you use those tools that cost $80 a month, you have to do this exact same thing that I'm doing right now. Don't let them fool you into thinking like, oh yeah, I put in the filters and it gives me items I can buy immediately. No, you still have to qualify the items. The filters are just giving you results that have a higher likelihood of having a price spread versus if you were to like do this manually on Amazon's website. Okay, we got a lot open already, so that's probably pretty good. Let me see if I missed any potentially juicy ones up here. Like this one could be good. $5.60, new price not high enough on that. Did I look at that travel? Yeah, I did. Travel book, I did look at that. Ooh, how did I miss this one? Okay, let's look at these few. And then we're gonna zoom in to the offers. I think you're getting the hang of this now, but I really just wanted to do this a bunch of times because there's a lot of variation in the data to give you a sense of like what all the different combinations can be. All right, this one looks really nice. What was the, except for it normally only trades at around $2 used. But hey, if you can sneak in a sale, then sneak it in. So I open this item up as well. You just got to be careful with these ones that show a history of the used price being relatively low. At least you see here that it does spend sometime around $20, and you can line that up with the green line and see if it's spiked there. You just don't know for sure that the spike in the green line corresponds to a used item selling. It could have been a new item selling, it could have been any used condition. You don't know for sure. So it's always best to see a strong history of the used item, like at a strong history, meaning at a relatively high price. Okay, this guitar book. Music books are usually pretty good. Where's the new? Where's the new price? Oh, it's way down here. Okay. Close that one out. Let's look at this one. Just a couple more, and then we're gonna zoom into this. I get this is kind of addictive almost, looking at these charts. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. You see how the black line's hugging the blue line historically? That means it's like the used book is got almost as much implicit value as the new book, which is good for historical. But then most recently, we want to see it drop, which means this low price right here is fairly anomalous with respect to the history. That's what this is almost the ideal case that you're looking for right here. Because what this is saying is this item trades or sells, the used item sells for a decent price. It's only recently that somebody has come in and lowballed it. And that's what you want to capitalize on. That might be the best one we saw so far. I'm going to move that to the front. And we'll see if that was actually a good one. All right. Let's check out the rest of the ones in this row. I swear this is the last ones we're going to do. I think the rank is too bad on this one. It's really addictive, actually. Okay. All right, yeah, the used price on this is pretty low, but like historically. But the new is really high. Let's dive into that one in more detail. All right, this is the last one right here, I swear. But I think you should be learning a lot if you know, especially if you haven't had a lot of experience yet reading Keepa charts. I'm kind of teaching you two things at once here. I'm teaching you how to identify potentially profitable books by looking at the chart, by glancing at it just for a couple seconds. But I'm also teaching you how to read these charts, which is really, really valuable information just in general when you're buying any type of item, not just books, but it's great for toys and Q4 as well. It's super important that you understand how to read these charts. As I mean, information is power, my friends. All right, yeah, the used and the new are too close to one another here. Okay, so I promised you that was the last of our initial glance. Okay, so here we go. This item is $11.61 used merchant. Now, there's a couple things that you're looking at here. The first thing is you're looking for the spread between the merchant fulfilled in the prime or the FBA offer, so that you know how much you can resell it for. You're looking for at least a 3 times multiple there. Okay, so this is more than a 3 times multiple. This was the one that I moved to the front. Remember that I said this is probably a good one? This filter is a little buggy. It's like it doesn't react until after you click on it. Okay, so that's good so far. So I could buy this for $10 and sell it for $35. That would work out to be, let me just grab my calculator, $35 times 60%. That would pay out about $21, and if I paid $10 for it, I'd make about $10. That's 100% ROI. You do that all day long if the rank is good, all day long. Okay, but you can still make a mistake here. Make sure that the item doesn't come from a foreign country. We're probably going to see an example of that because I haven't tried it, to be honest. I don't want to find out what happens. If somebody else has tried this and found out that the shipping is reasonable, put a comment below and say, hey, you can actually buy books from foreign countries. But if it says like Germany or France or China or something here, I stay away from that until I know, how the shipping works. I read briefly about how it works, and it looked like they charge you like normal shipping rates from shipping overseas. Excuse me, just nourishing myself with a little more water. Okay, the final thing that you want to look at is read the condition notes and make sure you're comfortable with it. If it's up to you, if you want to sell items that might have the supplemental materials missing, like the CDs, it's totally up to you. A lot of sellers do it. We don't do it. We try to maintain a really, really strong feedback rating. If you read the rules literally, you can technically list a book as all the way up to I think you can list it as very good, even if it has a CD missing. But just know what you might be getting. Know the risks that you're taking here. So it says copies been read, pages intact, spine may show wear, library, it might be an ex-library book. So make sure that they've graded it, appropriately. So this is pretty appropriate. It might be acceptable actually, but just know what risk you're taking. So this is kind of the best scenario we're looking for here. We'd really like this to be a very good book though. That'd be like the only way this could potentially get better, but I'm adding that one to our cart. So we already got one. The first one we looked at was a good one. And remember, I'm talking you through the whole thought process. So this, pretty much everything we did up until now, if I was doing this without explaining it, it probably would have taken about 3 minutes total. Okay, so I'm going to close the tab. I use Command W on a Mac, or I think it's Control W on a PC to close the tab. All these shortcuts will really help you. Okay, so this one is pretty expensive. So let's see, doing the math here, $18.90 to buy it, and it's not even very good. It's good, and the lowest use is 24, so that's not going to work. Okay, this one's $15 merchant, or I should say $19.20, and wow, that's really nice. $77. So that's pretty nice. And this guy's back ordered. So actually, you don't even look at this one. I mean, you probably wouldn't be able to get yours in stock by the time this guy comes in stock. Usually it shows you this when they're like the items are in FBA transfer. So like when they first get checked in and then they're moving them to another fulfillment center. But this one's money. Like I would probably buy all of these. I'm not even kidding. Like I would go, oh, let's make sure I'm not missing something else. I don't want to lead you guys astray. So let's just double check the historical used price is around $20. So that's the only thing you would want to be careful with. The used price was really only bumped up as most recently in the last month. Otherwise it trades around $20. So factoring that in, I probably wouldn't buy all these up. If this black line though was like 59 straight across, like I was saying earlier, 50 all the way across, all the way to the end, I would buy up all these. I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I would stop there. I'd buy all 6 of them. Okay, but I'm only gonna, I think I'll pay these are the same price, right? Yeah, I'll do the very good. I'll do this one. I'll do two of them. And this one. Okay, I got those in my cart now. So again, just know what risks you're taking. There's really no right or wrong. Just know if your risk is from your point of view, from your risk tolerances, if it's worth the potential reward. Okay, so that one's pretty expensive to buy. Weird. I don't think I would have. What was the merchant fulfilled offer on this one? Wow. 40.85? I don't think I would have opened that if it was 40.85. Let's look at the chart. There must be something else going on here. Day. Oh yeah, look at that. So the price dropped from, this is all today, from $37 down to $12. But look, where's the $12 offer? I don't see it anywhere. Right? So what that means is somebody bought this already. Like since the last time Keepa collected data on this, which was if this means they collected data on it, then this was like within the last couple seconds that somebody bought this item. Right? Because this was like, wow, they collect data really fast nowadays. That's crazy. Because this is saying this is all observations from today. Unless, let's see here. Yeah, I think you can't know for sure like what their collection frequency is. You can only know that maybe the last time they collected it was earlier today at about 9:31, so 3 or 4 hours ago, and they might not have collected it since then. And during that time frame, the item that we're looking at that was available for $12 probably sold, so that item's gone. So that kind of shows you how viable the strategy is, the fact that somebody else bought it already. Okay, this item, $10, $14 from Goodwill. How much can we sell it for? $45. That's money. How many of them can we buy? Reminds me of this this show on QVC from the 90s. There was this guy, Don West. He used to sell these collectibles, sports collectibles, and he was quite the salesman. He'd be like, "The only mistake you can make is only buying one of these, guys." This guy's hilarious. You check him out, YouTube, Don West. This guy is hilarious. He could probably sell anything. The only reason I'm selling these guys is because I physically do not have room. My wife kicked me out of my house. Okay, I digress. All right. So $50. I really don't want to pay more than $20, but I'll buy this one from Goodwill. So look, we already got 4 items, and I haven't even gone through the rest of them. I think you see how rewarding this exercise can be, especially if you do it, do this, my whole thought process. If you do that in your head, you're going to go a lot faster. Let's come back here real quick and just show you. There's many different ways you can set these filters, but one of the other things you can do, you could put the drop interval on a week, and then you can put the dollar drop range on something meaningful like $15, and then sort by rank from good to bad, right? And then go through them in that way, and you're gonna find even more. And we're gonna do a separate video, probably multiple separate videos about other techniques that you can use inside of Keepa. Other ways that you can set the filter panel to find even more. So if you guys like this video, please like, comment, subscribe. As always, thank you for tuning in, and look forward to speaking with you or having you listen to us next time. Thanks again, guys.